Get off the lake now. That's what she shrieked at my guests before they'd even had a chance to drop a single line in the water. And if you've never seen a grown woman in rubber boots stomp onto your patio table mid-barbecue, well, let me tell you, there's nothing quite like it. All I wanted was a quiet Saturday with friends, letting their kids feel something like normal again after a rough year. But instead I get the HOA chair, boots, and bullhorn, barking orders over my half-cooked ribs like she owns the whole shoreline. You ever try to explain to a 10-year-old why someone's yelling at them? For fishing? Yeah, that happened. And for a second, I just froze, chest pounding, while Lucy's eyes welled up and Noah's little fists clenched around that lucky rod he brought all the way from home. The air still smelled like hickory smoke from my grill. Ribs slow cooking, sunlight sparkling off the lake, my old dog snoring under the table. And you'd think that kind of peace could hold, right? Dean had his boat tied up at my dock, just steps from the water, and his kids bounced around, squabbling over who got to cast first. For the first time since their mom passed, those two actually seemed happy, arguing about nothing, racing to the water's edge, calling dibs on the magic lure. 3 months of heartbreak, and now this trip, just to let them breathe. That's when Meline appeared, boots thudding on wood, climbing right onto my picnic table, her bullhorn already blaring. Unauthorized visitors must leave immediately per HOA emergency protocol, she yelled, waving her arms at my guests like she was directing traffic. But all I could see was the terror on Lucy's face, the way Noah instinctively moved closer to his sister. Dean shot me a look, ex-military. Steady, but you could tell even he was calculating, trying to decide how much to stand up and how much to shield the kids. Then the sound hit, 3 adults in a rental canoe, slapping crooked safety. Patrol decals to the sides, blocking off Dean's boat, bullhorn blaring again. The neighbors she'd drafted for backup looked more nervous than authoritative, sneaking glances at each other like they'd rather be anywhere else. Let me back up a sec. These kids didn't need more drama, not after what they'd just lived through. But Meline didn't care. She kept pushing, listing off rules, making up safety regulations that no one had ever heard of. The words liability exposure echoed across the water, and for a split second, time just froze. The wind died, the bullhorn lowered, and suddenly those faded blue boundary marks from the old county survey appeared as the water shifted. She saw them too. Her face changed, like she'd lost her script. And just like that, she fumbled for her phone, fingers shaking, and sent out an emergency alert to the entire neighborhood. Phones pinged, notifications buzzed, and I watched my guests' peaceful retreat spiral into chaos. That night, over dinner, we stared at the emergency warning blasting across our screens. Lake safety protocol violation reported. Residents advised to monitor waterfront activity. Mia, my wife, isn't one to panic. She's worked in county records forever, and right then, she started digging. Out came dusty file folders, photos, survey maps, every permit we'd ever filed. Dean was filming the water line, lining up faded stripes with timestamps from decades-old repair records, the kind of stuff only a military guy or a seasoned county clerk would even think to cross-check. But the twist, yeah, here's the twist, came from Noah, all of 10 years old, peering up from his tablet and quietly asking, "Uncle Clark, that emergency alert, it came from Miss Pierce's personal phone, not the county. Isn't that wrong?" And in that moment, everything snapped into focus. Personal phones can't send out official alerts. They're supposed to come from county systems, not someone with a vendetta and a bullhorn. That evening, a knock on the door. Our neighbor Barb, a retired 911 dispatcher, holding her phone. "I got 3 of those alerts in 3 hours," she said. "That's a violation of every protocol in the book." She went on, detailing how using a personal account to broadcast public warnings wasn't just overreach. It was a violation of federal communication law. Mia dug deeper and found the bylaws. Nowhere did it say the HOA had the power to send official safety alerts or override county regulations. Turns out, Meline's Lake Safety Authority was as fake as those safety patrol stickers. By Sunday night, it was all unspooling. More neighbors got dragged in, some openly siding with Meline, some quietly apologizing, and a few brave ones, like our elderly neighbor Mrs. Johnson, who remembered the survey crew painting those blue lines in '73, confirmed our steps, dock, and property lines were all legit. But Meline wasn't backing off. The next week, she upped the pressure: new emergency fees, a neighborhood petition, public shaming, rumors about reckless guests, and dangerous activities. Even the mailman seemed wary, dropping letters with a nervous glance. You ever feel your whole neighborhood freeze you out overnight? It's like walking through fog, every friendly face turning away just enough to make you wonder if you're the villain. Dean, who'd seen real psychological warfare, recognized the tactic. She's isolating you socially, weakening your resolve, he said, matter of fact. That's how you break opposition. But nothing prepared me for Lucy, drawing the lake with a big red X over our steps, or Noah quietly suggesting they stay at a hotel so they didn't cause more trouble. Kids blaming themselves for grown-up games. That's the part that breaks you. Still, Mia found receipts, event planning, catering, rentals, all labeled as lake maintenance. Dean called the so-called environmental consultants listed on our $3,700 assessment. They'd never even heard of our lake. The HOA was laundering party money through fake invoices and using the threat of foreclosure to keep us in line. Neighbors started getting mysterious new fees, too, if they spoke up, and one day, the HOA treasurer herself asked to meet me off property, sliding proof of Meline's spending across the table with shaking hands. But the real shock came week 3. 2 parents, tired of watching their own kids get scared, offered to testify about the fake alerts and how Meline's campaign was targeting families, not just property. The tide started turning. A county code officer, then a Federal Communications Commission agent, yeah, the actual FCC, showed up to review the evidence. Meline's phone records, projected in front of everyone, showed exactly what she'd done. You could feel the air shift as neighbors watched her shriek about safety, while the federal agent calmly read out the penalties. Minimum $5,000 fine for abusing emergency signal systems, permanent monitoring, and, yep, potential criminal charges. Right there in the community hall, deputies removed her badge, the board ousted her, and every last assessment was wiped out and refunded, plus a big public apology. Turns out, the only thing louder than her bullhorn was the sound of federal law crashing down. The community, ashamed and sobered, started mending fences, some quite literally. Lucy and Noah fished off the dock with a gaggle of neighborhood kids the next weekend, their laughter finally outshining the last of Meline's storm cloud. So what did we learn? You stand tall even when your knees shake, you protect your peace. And, maybe most of all, you never let bullies weaponize the system, especially when kids are involved. The funny thing is, as Meline was escorted out, she hissed, "This isn't over." And you know what? Maybe it isn't, not really. Maybe there's always another battle coming when people let power go to their heads, and maybe that's why telling these stories matters. So let me ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have fought or folded? Would you risk the peace for the principle? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your stories. Let's talk justice, community, and where the rail lines ought to be drawn. And hey, if this hit home, you know what to do. Smash that like. Subscribe if you want more real stories, and tell me below, have you ever faced down an HOA or a neighbor who just wouldn't quit? Let your voice be louder than their noise, and until next time, stand your ground, protect your family, and don't let anybody tell you where your boundaries are.